Hey Clashes, Supercell wants to make more strategies viable again, and we're going to talk about the Legend Rework, the same as the future of clan perks for higher clan levels. Because yesterday there wasn't Ask Me Anything for content creators where there were asked different questions, some as well about the creator program, but as well a lot of questions regarding the game, which would be super interesting for our communities, and they said we can easily share them no problem. So I thought I would just summarize all of that for you guys because there were a couple of really interesting things in there. And the first one already is the change of the meta. Because we have so many troops and spells and everything by now in the game, but if you want to play the best and most optimal strategies on the highest level, you cannot get around two different strategies. The first one is a dragon with a royal champion charge. That's it. It is just so good. And the other one is just the Root Rider with the Royal Champion charge. So the overall variety is really limited if you compare it to other older Town Hall levels and the meta we had over there, and Supercell wants to change that. The first step here was and is this Springtrap rework, which they pretty much took like one-to-one from my concept. And one thing which I have not shared that back then is that I did not just share the concept of the Springtrap rework with Supercell, but I as well shared a ton of balance changes with them, which I would suggest for the troops. And what I did here is went through every single troop we have in the game. I went through every single spell we have in the game, every single siege, every single equipment, everything, and always made those suggestions for balance changes. The unique thing about this is that I only listed buffs, so pretty much things which makes attacking stronger. And everything where I feel like, okay, like dragons or root riders, they're already strong enough, just no changes to them. So pretty much push everything up, because the Springtrap rework is going to be obviously a nerf for things like root riders, but as well indirectly to dragons because of the royal champion charge. And if dragons are more meta, you're putting the black knights more towards the core, which is going to nerf them because they are meta, which is kind of strange, but that's how base bidding works. So let's see if they're going to add anything of that as well. But they have already, as I said, confirmed that they're going to try to really make sure that they're having a different meta, bring back old strategies like queen charges, or something which I have not seen in a long time on high town level, or lightning spells, for example. They have become super rare. They were really popular back in the days. So let's hope that they're going to follow some of those balance change suggestions, or as well some of their own data if they can like get any suggestions out of that. But either way, we're going to apparently see some of those changes making it into the game. And let's hope for the best, and let's hope for a really better meta, I guess, in the future where more strategies are viable on the highest town level. And by viable, I mean not usable because the game is easy, but more about viable because they are actually strong. But as I already said earlier, there were more things to be discussed in that Ask Me Anything. And the second big topic is the Legend rework. There was nothing specific shared about how it looks like, but what they have shared is we're going to have big news coming early next week. Which means for you guys, now is the best moment to really follow this channel, because with that, you're always up to date and you always know everything about the game when it comes down to changes, when it comes down to meta, when it comes down to the Legend rework. But let's move on with the next point, which is actually the possible future for clan perks in Clash of Clans. Because the answer overall regarding adding perks or more clan perks for higher clan level, it is always the same answer. And it is that Supercell does not want to widen the gap between the lower clans and the higher clans with like crazy good clan perks for like level 20 plus and such, because this would kind of over time really make it hard to start a new clan, or in general have a lower level clan and make it appealing to others to join. But something that are discussing currently, or they're considering, are pretty much things you can unlock, like not perks, but just things for the clan. For example, one suggestion was like the rename for the clan, for example, if you reach a certain level for, or if you reach level whatever, like let's say 20, you can customize your clan logo or something. So you can unlock still like things for the clan, but there wouldn't be like clan perks, which make lower level clans kind of useless. So that is something which I think is a really cool concept. I'm really going to hope that they're going to follow that. But that is for sure something which they're currently discussing with the team, and which is possibly on the menu for the future, which I would love to see. Because, I mean, there should be some reward for having like a clan which is on like a really high level, and you have grinded for so long. So I think that would be just really cool. But I can understand that would be not a clan perk as we currently have in the game. Let's move on to the next thing, and that is the skin question regarding the Minion prints. Because that is a really common question, which I see in my comments as well, regarding when is the Minion prints for the League shop coming? When are the leaks, like when are the skins coming for the Minion prints from the old sets? And they're worked on still, but they have no specific timeline just yet on when they're going to be released, because we have currently already always 5 skins during every month. So based on them, they have no clue yet how they want to release it, if they just put it in the shop or if there are other options. So let's see what they come up with. I mean, it would be quite epic, I have to say, but that is now just something which I'm hoping for, but I'm pretty confident that won't be happening. But imagine you have already like a complete set, like from back in the days, and then the new Minion print skins for that set comes out. You would get like a discount or something for that because you have that set already. But I guess, again, like, that's just me dreaming, and I don't think that, like, there's no reason why they should do it, right? Or maybe? I don't know if that makes sense, like, business-wise. But, hey, sometimes dream big, right? Let's move on to the next topic, which is the Eagle Artillery. This defense is not going to come back in a permanent way, which means it won't be coming back. What they have considered, though, is putting it back, or at least mechanics of this defense, in a seasonal defense, for example, which means the seasonal rotations which we have currently, where we currently have like the the flame spinner, we have the hook tower, and we have the mortar, like the mortar crusher, the crushing mortar. So maybe as one of those, but obviously nothing confirmed, but that is at least on the menu possibly for the future. The next thing they have been talking about, again, which they have already talked about in another Ask Me Anything, are skins for troops, which is still like getting worked on and such, because first they need to have 3D models for all of those different troops in the game. But this is for sure currently still on the menu. At least that was how the answer, how the question was answered by them. Then one really important thing, because I feel like this is, I have already seen some creators really putting too much in there. This Ask Me Anything had some really interesting questions. I feel like I've covered most of them, but there were as well some questions in there which were answered in a really polite way, which I feel some did misjudge maybe. So for example, just one example, we had the question many times already over the different years, if there would be the option that you could change troops during the scouting time, which means you could pretty much change your army during the scouting time, kind of like in Bitter Base. Which in Bitter Base, it somewhat makes sense because you have only limited army camps and such. But in Home Village, it doesn't really make sense. This is something which has Stuart already answered in the past, which means, okay, UI, like the graphic overall, would really be kind of tricky to manage that with so many troops and such. Overall, the mechanic would be really confusing for players, because in 30 seconds, it's like scouting in 30 seconds can be already challenging. So like, changing the army still, like, that is nearly impossible. So it was always answered with a no. But the way on how they have answered most of the questions is they always started with, okay, really good question, and then they answered the question. And this is like a style of how you answer questions, because it gives you time to really think about the question, which is completely normal. But I would say maybe unfortunately they have answered to this question with like, oh, that's a really interesting idea. And I feel like some people have thought, oh yeah, that's going to make it to the game because it's an interesting idea. They have pretty much said that to so many questions that be careful about what you are believing when it comes down to the informations which are going around right now, because I've seen already some crazy assumptions about what the future is going to bring. Be careful about what you actually believe there, okay? That is just the 2 cents which I want to put in there, because I have seen already a lot of questions on my Discord regarding that, and like people DMing me about that and being as well confused, because the answer was always, no, this won't happen. And yeah, now people are like going into that a little bit. So just so you know, be careful with that. But I feel like otherwise we have pretty much covered all of those major points. If you want to make sure that you are up to date when it comes down to the possible legendary work and everything around it and how it looks like, make sure that you're following this channel, and make sure that you're getting ready for early next week, because this apparently is the key date to follow. And I will see you back then. Until then, see ya and bye-bye.